Hey all, Toast here, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. Today I am going to go over some very specific tech. Tech for a warband I think needs more love from the greater Warcry community. That warband is Teratic Cohort and the tech is Predatory Outriders. To do this I am going to zip zap zoop over to Tabletop Simulator so you have the perfect mix of visual aid to my rambling. So let's drop a meteoric boy howdy and skedaddle over there right now. So we have skedadded successfully and here we are on TTS. So in front of you I've laid out a basic board with some objectives, deployments and a little bit of terrain. I also have two warbands, one of which is fairly obvious, that is of course the Teratic Cohort down here. This is a standard, I would say, Teratic Cohort list that hits 9 man. You've got all the toys that you kind of want. You've got a Centauri, a couple Cyclopteans, and you know, some dogs for good measure. And this is like a standard, run-of-the-mill kind of Teratic Cohort list. And on my opponent's side, we are rocking some Sylvaneth. Again, I would say this is a fairly standard-ish kind of Sylvaneth list. You've got some Hunters, you've got some Chaff, you've got Althari, Skaith, all that good stuff. Fairly standard stuff. What you'd expect to see in a fairly standard competitive game. Before we go into the examples, let's quickly go over what Predatory Outriders actually does. So I'll put up that on the screen now. Shabadabadoosh. So before deployment, you pick a battle group that is going to be on the board turn 1. That group can simply put deploy 6 inches away from their deployment marker, not the standard 3 inches. The only restriction is that they must be deployed more than 6 inches away from each enemy fighter. All in all, you pick a group and that group has way more freedom when it comes to deploy. Easy peasy. Key things to note here is that this does not specify wholly within, which means unlike regular deployments, you can only have the tiniest smidge of your base within that 6 inches, and that's illegal deployment. The rest can be hanging out like an unruly testicle and you are good to go. This is great on your basic lads since they have pretty big bases, but this is especially amazing on the Centauri since this laddie is on a freaking oval, right? This guy can stick way out. It's kind of crazy. With this in mind, you can deploy hyper aggressively on turn 1. So we can take our guys here, bada boosh, and just plonk them. These are our dagger, as an example. These are our dagger, right? So we can just put this little 6-inch bubble on our Centauri, okay? And as long as this 6-inch bubble is in the middle of that little circle there should be 6 inches from the center. A little bit more, okay? This is legal. This guy can deploy here because the back of his base is within 6 inches of the deployment mark. Now these guys can also do that, okay? So these are a little bit trickier. They've got smaller bases, so they can't get quite as far up, right? But you can do something like along the lines of like this, right? Terrain can get in the way sometimes, but we could smidge it a little bit, get them all deployed, sort of like that, and boom. This is a legal deployment. They're there now. You've deployed in their deployment zone. Now I can hear you crying already, but Toast, you can't do that because of the restriction. You can't be within 6 inches of enemy fighters. You are correct. Do you see any enemy fighters on the board? Exactly. And this is where the source comes in, right? So, because there are no enemy fighters, I'm free to deploy wherever I want. I could go over here. It doesn't really matter. There's nothing stopping me going anywhere, really, other than that 6-inch restriction on my deployment point. But because there's no enemies, I can go anywhere. And because of how deployment works, right? So let's just like pretend. Let's pretend for a sec, right? We're over here. We roll a dice to determine who is going first, okay? For their deployment. Oh no, I got a 2. That's terrible. My opponent rolls. You got a 3. Ah, gosh darn. That's terrible. So he gets to pick who deploys first. What does your opponent always pick? He picks you. Why does he pick you? Because he wants information, right? He wants you to deploy first so he can see where you're going with what and sort of like build around that, okay? It's the sort of like, I'm going to react to your deployment. It's how it tends to go. Now, if these were reversed, if I won the roll-off, well, If I won the roll-off, of course I'm picking me to go first. So in 99% of cases, you are deploying first. You can do this. What can they do? Nothing but curse the gods for their misfortune. So, your opponent now deploys. So we'll pretend all this has been deployed now as well. Your opponent now deploys. So, in this example, randomly, I have this deployment, okay? Now, they don't want to be in combat with me, okay? I mean, they could do this. They could deploy aggressively, okay? Which is something we will get into later on. But for now, they could do this. And oh no, now they're engaged. And this is perfect for me because my guys have range 2 and range 3. This guy's only got range 1, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, boom, this is great for me. I get a fight, I can bully these chaff, I can kill these guys off, and I win a huge victory very early on. Now, what will really happen though, is they will likely do this. Okay, and this is the source one. That, because of the Cavaliers having a range 3, okay, they have to be pushed further back. Okay, they're getting pushed further back. This is bad for them for several reasons, which I'll get into in a second. But firstly, they are now, one, further away from their friends, further away from any sort of objective thing going on over here. They're being isolated. They're being cut off. And what comes on turn 2? Okay, my guys come on turn 2. So my guys come on turn 2. Again, let's take an example. Turn 2 comes around. Boom. These guys are in danger of being pincered. Terrible for them, okay? So they've got two options. They could, on their turn, Scare's quite fast, so in this example, Scare could run away. That's fine. These guys, they can go this way. They can't go through you. Okay, that's bad. And going the long way further isolates them. Okay, so they're kind of boned. They're going this way, which you could potentially catch over here, right? So you've got them, you've limited their options with what they can do. They're risking the pincer. They can't go this way. They can't go that way. They're going this way in this example. Or they could sort of like skirt the edges down here, but again, they'd be caught on the turn 2 deployment if they even dare to attempt that. So they're in a bad spot, even if they're not in combat. You've applied immediate pressure on your opponents. And importantly, this deployment group is also safe from their turn 2. So you've put a pincer in here, potentially, but you've also completely avoided your dagger being pincered, okay? Which is another benefit. Now, specifically for Teratic Cohort, in this position, okay, a common position to be in, is you have access to a fantastic double called Bestial Leap, which is a 3-inch movement with fly for free on a double, okay? Now, it can go up to a 4-inch movement with a wild dice. You won't really need this, to be fair, although you might, because your guy here actually won't be in range. But still, we go to Centauri. He gets his free 3-inch movement. They're now all engaged. You've got 2 guys engaged, which slows them right down. Even do this, potentially. Engage all 3 of them, which means that they're kind of boned. So that when they're disengaged, they only move 3 inches, so they're slowed for their escape. You've engaged them all, and now you get to attack 10 times, right? Because you've got 5 attacks. Kill something, right? You're a 5-4-2-4, right? Like, kill that Revenant. Potentially kill that Revenant as well. Bish bash bosh, that's 2 kills, immediately turn 1. 2 dead chaff, common scenario. If you have extra points left over, you could have strength on here. You could even have 6 attacks in here. You could even have extra damage or crit on here, right? The blessing options make the Centauri even more effective. Shabadoosh, you kill some guys, okay? What do you save? Probably Skaith. Skaith's that you most is in this instance. Skaith can't fight this. Skaith is more valuable, being a hero. Many missions punish heroes dying. Skaith runs away. These 2, if they're alive, are here. What do? Wonk. Jump in. Okay? Move you 4 inches. You've tagged them up some more attacks in. That's another 6 attacks. Potentially kill this guy. Potentially kill this guy if they're wounded. Okay? That's potentially a whole deployment group dead. Right? Bar Skaith. So you've turn 1, you've killed 2 guys immediately. In kill missions, that's huge. Okay, in any mission, that's huge. But in kill missions, you're getting points. In non-kill missions, you're not getting points. But what you are doing is you are clawing activation advantage. You are now 2 models up on them, potentially, in a 9v9 scenario, or 3 models if it's 9v8, etc., etc. So you have clawed a huge advantage turn 1. Not only have you completely dominated the space here, you have consolidated power by having your turn 2 come on here as well. You could potentially still have guys over here, freely being able to move away to do other things. And now you have guys over here against, you know, this group, which is, a potentially even trade, right? But then on the next turn, well, the pincer's not needed yet. The pincer comes on here. These guys then redirect. So you've got 3 deployment groups on 1, because their deployment is not going to get there in time. Okay, so you have this massive advantage by crushing this deployment, then redirecting over here to crush this deployment, and then once all that's said and done, shabadoosh, do that way. And this is a standard Teratic Cohort strategy, is to basically alpha strike. You alpha strike and you crush them mercilessly from the pre-game. You don't even think about anything else. Pre-game, alpha strike, kill. And it's kind of spicy. Now, of course, this won't always be the case. So in this exact same scenario, okay, this becomes way more dangerous, okay, because this was a fairly weak deployment, okay? This was a bit of a support deployment. Not every deployment is going to be that strong. Skaith is sort of like, oh, he's a strong guy. He can sort of protect these guys, not against this kind of initial threat. Skaith can't protect that. But on the flip side, we have other potentials, okay? What if your opponent had this deployment? Oh no, right? Let's say your opponent had something truly terrifying in this deployment, okay? And Sylvaneth can do this as well. So, in this example, this exact same example, we have our guys back here. And now we have an actual threat who will freely deploy here. One, now you're boned, right? He's protecting these guys. These guys can run away, okay? He's endangering all of them, because the Scythe Kernoth Huntmaster is terrifying, right? So he could kill off your Centauri immediately, right? This is bad news. Well, what do you do here? You don't do this at all. In this instance, okay, this is where the source comes in. Okay, if you can bully a weaker warband, a weaker deployment, bully that warband, bully that deployment. Of course you would. That's sort of like the biggest, one of the biggest strengths of the cohort. The other biggest strength is consolidating power and avoiding this scenario entirely. So again, we can instead do this. Boom. Okay, this is very rough. Okay, so don't take it too perfectly, but here we go. Well, we don't want to deal with that, so we aren't. We're now over here, okay? And you go, oh, you're risking the pincer, okay? Potentially, okay? But this is pre-game. This is pre-deployment. This is deployment. So even turn 1, we can then go from here and go down here, okay? We have our other deployment, okay? On turn 2, on turn 1, sorry, moves down here as well. Oh no, that is an incredible amount of pressure. Once again, on one deployment. Then what do? Oh my god, well then these guys come in as well. And then you know, if they're alive after there's 6 of them, when there's 9, shit dies, okay? And not every deployment's going to be that strong unless you're against an elite warband, ogres, iron jaws, stormcast. That's a bit scarier. But in that instance, most of those warbands do have weaker chaff. You would pick them off. Okay, you would find the weakest deployment group and target it and crush it. But in this example, in Sylvaneth, as this example, yeah, we would just, whatever's here would die. And then you continue as per. You would maybe go over here, bully this one, maybe head back, bully that turn 2. In a kill scenario, that's amazing. So, Outriders is disgusting for how much freedom it has for you to consolidate power or alpha strike. And frankly, consolidate power is the trick. Because over here, what you're doing, consolidating power on turn 2. Right, you have consolidated 2/3 of your warband into a very powerful thing that can crush through and bully mid-range or not killy warbands quite effectively, okay? Now, let's just drop these away for a little bit. Because that's very much on, this is like all, you can theoretically do this stuff in a kill mission. This is a kill mission scenario where kills are way more important. But what if you were in a different scenario? What if we were in an objective game? So a treasure mission. So a treasure mission is probably a bit easier to do. Treasure missions. So you've got 2 kinds of treasure missions. Okay, typically you have a single treasure in the middle, or you have like roughly 5. Okay, these are like the usual scenarios. So these are very roughly placed, but you get the idea, okay? You have your 5 treasure tokens, or you have your 1. In the case of a 1 treasure token mission, you just do this. You just do that. That's what you need to do, right? You have your guys there. If they go for it, that's kind of bad for them, right? Because they're putting a guy, I'm going to take this treasure carrier, this treasure token. What's going to happen? They're going to die. Because you've got all these guys, and of course you have your other turn 1. This is a bad place to be for your opponent if you already have guys there. Again, free moves. If they move and take it, they move away, jump on them. Right, immediately jump on them. If you can engage them, they can't disengage because of the treasure rules. This is now basically yours. You have secured this because they've got to then attack you to sort of like push you off. But you've got 6 guys there, and no one model is going to like willingly go. Well, maybe some, but for the most part, it's a scary prospect to send 1 guy at a time piecemeal into 6. It's terrifying. So you take this, you free move, you get away, you hide, you take it, you skedaddle, you're good to go. You've now secured that this treasure. You've got this one. Ideally, you would maybe leave 1 guy back here to pick this up, free move, and to consolidate that power again. Of course, be aware of any deployments. This is not a treasure deployment, but be aware that there could be guys coming from behind, coming from the sides, whatever, okay, or from the corners. So always be aware of your opponent's turn 2, but the strat is generally take it, run away. The best option for this is usually Centauri because he is so much faster. At movement 7, he goes to movement 5 with a treasure on board, and that's still faster than most things in the game. So he can free move, shroomf, he's gone, right? He's fine. Very easy to protect a treasure on a Centauri. So you've got this one, you've got the middle one, you're sorted. And of course, this also works. I think I was supposed to be talking about the single ones, actually. But yeah, in a single treasure mission, it's even easier. Just take it, run away. You're sorted, right? If you take it, run away, castle, right? Either defensively castle, or you can aggressively castle, where you just send all the guys in and sort of like have a wall of guys that protect it, and then you're attempting to group up with whatever your turn 2 is. Could be over here, could be over here, could be wherever, right? You're basically castling towards your turn 2, so you have all your guys defending 1 guy, and they have to then move again slowly towards you, right? Once you have that single treasure, the whole game is in your court. You have complete control over where this battle's been fought, and Cohort are very good at that because they can deploy so aggressively and take it. Now, another multi-treasure example would be here. So again, imagine there's we'll put some Sylvaneth there, whatever, Skaith, whatever, he bonker. We have some Sylvaneth. Oh no, okay. We have a treasure token somewhere in the vicinity. Well, I've now deployed here. If I go first, I'm going to jump in. I'm going to take it on the free move and then do what I would do in a kill mission. Okay, so I've taken your treasure, which is insane. You can even do this: have a guy here, have a guy here. Not a dog, obviously, but you know. Well, in a multi-treasure mission, you could have a guy on yours, a guy in the center, a guy, and then 3 guys on yours over here. Of course, I've misplaced them, but you get the idea. There they are. Then you've got some guys over here. Okay. On this one. Well, now on turn 1, you have bodies on or near threatening potentially 4 of the 5. You only need 1 more than them. So frankly, you don't even need the middle one, right? You can just take these 2. And this is nasty for your opponent, because if you take theirs and manage to also run away, that's bad, right? Especially if you've secured both of yours, then you've got a huge advantage from turn 1. So outriders, fantastic in any kind of treasure mission that you'd really come up with. There are some weird ones, like I think it's called Pillage and Loot, which is like a base for more modern treasure missions where you have to spend an action to take a treasure. Spoiler, Teratic Cohort are really good at that too. So in this instance, because you have free movements, you spend an action, you deploy here, spend an action, pick it up, cool. And then you go free move, regular move. You are now, you are still faster than most of the game. You still get 2 move actions. You are not slowed, and you started on the freaking objective. So, yeah. In most treasure missions, the cohort can be very oppressive because of their deceptive speed, right? They're not that fast. They're only moving 4. But that free move action with fly and the deployment makes them feel much, much faster than you would potentially think. So the final kind of mission that you would have would be some kind of objective mission. And this might not be the best example for this, but this is the one that I've decided to pick at random because randomness helps, right? So we'd have the exact same thing applies. Okay, so we have our outrider deployment. So we get to immediately deploy into an objective. Okay, into 2 objectives potentially if you wanted to. Okay, so we get deploy in here, and then cool. This is not ours at the start of the game because that's not how it works. But we now have 3 bodies on here, and one of the trickiest things with treasure missions is that depending on the mission, okay, again this might not be the best example, but depending on the mission, they might not be able to make it to every objective with all their guys. And you have already sort of like displayed where you want to be. You want to be in the middle, but that could be a ruse. Okay, so you've got the middle, your turn, turn 1 will like likely move in some way towards the middle, maybe get like a lone guy over here, right? So you're pressuring this middle bit with everybody. Your turn, this is your shield, who doesn't have outriders, has moved here. So you've still got 2, maybe 3 guys on here, okay? Well, your opponent is likely going to want to try and pressure the middle, because they have to. They can't just want to at least get guys moving towards that middle zone, right? To sort of pressure for later on. Otherwise, you're going to win the game just by having the center. The center is such an important part of the game because you have so much space. You have more options in the middle because you can go anywhere from the middle. If you're in a corner, well, you don't have quite as many. You've got less scope, less projection, right? So if you're in the middle, which you are in this case, for free, remember, you haven't moved here, you've started here, well, you can potentially, if they get very aggressive, kind of fall back, sure. Or you could push over here. Because again, bearing in mind that they could be moving 1 guy here, because you just did, and then trying to move the rest of the guys towards the center. This could actually leave their home deployment quite vulnerable to your guys actually taking it, okay, while still holding this. And then you've got this huge advantage. You have this massive advantage where you have all 3 on turn 1. And it might always happen that way, but you could have 2 on turn 1 and deny their home objective, okay? From the center, you have so much power to, again, dictate the pace of the game, where battles are fought. And you can very much do this simply just by deploying forward and taking space. You could also, if you want to be, again, if you want to be a bit more aggressive, if you didn't really want to care too much about the objective, or want to sort of just like be a distraction, okay? If they've got a weaker deployment here, they might want to go over here, okay? But from here to here, okay, that's like 2 moves, and that doesn't prevent you from a free move attacking, okay? So from here, they have limited options to where they want to go. If they go to the center, you can chase them. If they go to their objective, you can also chase them. And you've still got a guy back here from your regular deployments, and you're still pressuring the middle, again, with your regular dudes. So there are so many ways of utilizing predatory outriders to your advantage. And it works. There's always a use to it, regardless of what they're using. They could be using, so in this example, we were Sylvaneth, which is, you know, a bit mid-range. They have some killy stuff, they have some non-killy stuff. This is like a standard makeup thing, right? So you want to be aiming for their squishier stuff, like their chaff, maybe Scathe, avoiding their big stuff, right? But what if they only have big stuff? What if they're Stormcast, right? What if they're 6-man paladin spam, right? Where they've got all Starsteel maces. Well, you don't fight them for one, right? Well, you do a little bit, but what you do is, against that kind of like unrelenting hate, we'll just be a bit lazy here. In the theoretical big old murder hobo list, where you've got 2 absolutely killy threats in every deployment, okay? Well, in that instance, you just play cagey as fuck, right? So in this example, here's a 6-inch threat range. Don't deploy on that. Don't do that. You want to deploy, still using outriders, remember, you're still using outriders. You want to deploy, say, for example, something like this, right, where you're sort of just, you're straddling the lines, where they can't really get to you. You're still deployed further forward, you're still getting advantage from your battle trait, and because you have more guys, you've got 9 to 6 or 9 to 5, depending on how the matchup actually pans out. Well, they could start moving some guys up, and really, every one of their deaths is way more substantial than yours. So, isolate a guy, right? They move up. If they get a bit too ballsy, right? You just wait out. You've got dogs. You sort of like chill for a little bit. It's going to work in any scenario. Chill for a bit, you know, wait them out. Big guy comes in. Stormcast. They've only got 20 wounds. Jump on it. Go in. Bam, bam, bam. Send the guys in. Kill that one guy. Okay. You've still isolated them. Okay, they still want objectives. This guy's maybe moved over here. This guy's maybe sort of moved over here, right? You've killed one guy. Well, the reinforcements are over here, but these guys are likely to be out of range based on how you go and do it. And now, boom, you've got one guy. One of their guys are dead, and then that's bad for them because now it's 5 or even 4 to 9, right? Continue to apply that pressure, right? You can gang up and isolate and kill individual models if they are not ogres. Don't try it against ogres. Ogres have too many wounds. Stormcast, Iron Jaws are a little bit easier to do that with. Stormcast, likely the easiest because they tend to have like 20 wounds on their basic dudes. And no matter how killer they are, no matter how tough they are, 20 wounds is 20 wounds. Right, you can burn through that with enough guys, with enough crits, enough pressure from your other abilities. You can do that easily enough at one at a time if you time it right. If you time it wrong and you go in and get like, you know, then this guy moves in and then you get pincered because you went too aggressively too early. You kind of won't. Don't do that. But overall, Outriders is a fantastic ability. And one last thing. Now, this isn't actually Outriders related, okay? Let's just remove all these objectives for now. This isn't Outriders related specifically, but it does help with Outriders. So one of the really funky things with the Teratic Cohort is their quad. So their quad is Savagery Unbound. And in short, for a quad, the guy who uses it, his battle group gets to move. That's it. So bam, bam, bam. Full move, 4 inches or 7 inches on that Centauri. It's kind of spicy. It's a free move. If you invest 2 additional wild dice, your whole warband moves. And why I'm mentioning it here is that when it comes to Teratic Cohort, and with any warband, but I think Teratic Cohort are the best at doing this because of their unique tools. How Warcry works. So first things first. If you use a double, the whole warband gets a move. No matter, there's no range restriction. You do a quad, you spend the double, everyone moves. Amazing, right? Because movement's fantastic. It's one of the strongest aspects of any warband is how effectively they can get around the board. Now, I've mentioned consolidation a lot. Let's expand that a bit more, okay? In Warcry, turns are largely you go, I go. There are exceptions where you could inspire presence where, so oh, well, I'm going to go, but I'm going to go, okay? Or a guy goes, I'm going to go, and then make you do a little bit as well, right? Like a Calthea or something. Or a Packmaster whipping a Rat Ogre. These are common abilities, but for the most part, you go, I go, you go, I go. So any given plan can be ruined by your opponent intentionally or unintentionally just getting in the way, okay? They can scarper your plans just by the nature of me not being able to do all of my guys at once and bring my plan to fruition. Oh no, I can though. I am Teratic Cohort, I have a quad and 2 wild dice. Shocker. Now, okay, I can, on turn 2, which is the most likely time you'll be able to do this, suddenly move the whole warband towards each other. I can now consolidate this massive death ball and consolidate power. I could, theoretically, move everyone towards a singular goal, right? So earlier I mentioned, well, let's bully some guys down here, okay? Because we have some guys. We have some guys over here. On turn 1, we've moved sort of to apply pressure, or maybe even fighting here, or they're playing a bit cagey. We've locked them in. Well, turn 2 comes round, everyone moves. Okay, so all 9 guys move. And now you are boned, right? You've now got 1 action to interact with 9, right? 9 guys have just moved in sequence, in perfect unison, in harmony, to enact my plan and my will, and you have 1 guy to scarper that. That's difficult. That's difficult for your opponent to do that. And of course, in this kill example, this is a bit of a exaggerated case where you've got 9 guys on potentially 3, right? That's a bit exaggerated, but it could be useful, right? It could be, I want to, wait until my last activation, and in the objective scenario from before, okay, well, we're straight chilling, okay, we're everywhere, okay, we're just existing places, and then things are happening, and then my last activation, instead, I go, cool, quad, savage unbound, burn 2 wild dice, and then the entire makeup of where my guys are, and which objectives are being held by who, changes immediately. Instant, right? Objectives you thought were safe are no longer safe. Things that you thought I had secured or were overly defended are now perfectly defended, and I've spread out everywhere and took everything, and there's nothing you can do about that, right? If I do it at the end of the turn, you literally can't do anything. If I do it a bit earlier, you maybe have 1 action, right, before I do my next action, and then we go back to you go, I go, but I've done so much in that 1 turn that's incredible tempo, that's incredible power in that quad. And you might think it's very difficult to get off. Quads are not reliable, and quads are not reliable. That's very true. Especially a quad with 2 wild dice. But you're playing Teratic Cohort. So with Teratic Cohort, you have access to Isaac Alcatraz on screen now. Isaac Alcatraz lets you generate more wild dice. You only need 3 wild dice on turn 2, okay? So you start with 1, because you likely won't spend it. You want to try and bank that. So you bank 1 turn 1. You get a free 1 on turn 2, because that's how the game works. You bank that as well. You only need 1 more, and your odds of getting a quad powered up are way higher. It's insane. So you use your Isaac Alcatraz and high double, right? You roll like 6 dice. You need a 5+. We failed. Oh no, sometimes it fails. Okay, that's a shame. Buff to Isaac Alcatraz though is that you can now use it as many times as you want in 1 given turn. So in this case, that's 6, a bit unlucky. Try again on 5. Okay, we've got a double 5. Ayo, we get 3 more wild dice. Okay, this is a bit of a skewed example, but you know, this is ideally one of your first rolls or your actual first roll. You just want 1 more wild dice. So now on turn 2, in this very specific instance, we actually have 5 wild dice on turn 2. Well, when we roll our actual initiative, okay, again, not the best roll here, but we're doing it live, right? So a common roll would be to have maybe a triple. Okay, it's not guaranteed, as you have just seen. This is why you don't rely on this. It's just something you have in the back of your mind and you prepare for, because turn 2 is likely the best time to do this. So if you ever get a triple, all you need is 1 wild dice from the 3 you would have, hopefully, to make a quad. You then have 2 more wild dice in the bank, or 4 in our instance here, to power that up. You're good to go, right? Turn 2, drop the quad, shabadoosh, burn those 2. You are good to go. That quad's online, fully powered. Enact your will with furious abandon. It'll be amazing, right? Have a great time. And this is the sauce, right? The fact that Teratic Cohort are able to move so freely, with so much purpose, without interruption, is their power. Their true power, because their stats are fine. This guy, right? 3 attacks, strength 5, really nice. 2 forts, okay damage. 18 wounds, nice. Okay, they're okay. Their stats are completely fine. They're not that killy though. They're not that fast at a glance. Even their dogs are moving 4, right? They're not that fast at a glance. Even their horsemen's only moving 7, right? Most horses are 10, right? So the nearest equivalent would be like something like a centaur for beastmen, right? I guess movement 10, I think, right? So most horses like between 8 and 10 movement. I believe even Varangard are movement 10. So the Centauri being movement 7, bless him. Even he's a bit slow for a fast piece. But he's still there. He's having a good time. We don't judge him for his slowness, okay? We love the Centauri, no matter how slow and gimpy his legs may be. But being able to deploy aggressively, you can't stop that, right? Like, it'll just happen. You are now subject to immediate pressure. That quad, you are now subject to my plan going off at once. Everything's now in place. You have to now deal with that. That's very difficult. But you get the idea, right? These guys are tricky. They're not amazing in combat. They can bully. They can definitely bully things. They can bully weaker warbands, bully chaff very effectively. They can't really win a straight up even fight. If they're fighting elites, you've got to be cagey, but their toolkit allows them to be super cagey and play every kind of mission with some kind of finesse that requires practice. They're very difficult, but I love these guys, and hopefully this sort of like off the cuff, sort of like rambly little gambit video has helped you see just where the source lies, right? Some of the source lies with the Teratic Cohort. These guys are a lot of fun, and hopefully you see them as I see them, which is as a really interesting, fun way to interact with Warcry in a way that no other warband can do. They are entirely unique in this playstyle, and I absolutely love it. So in conclusion, the reason that you play the Teratic Cohort is to mess around with their juicy battle trait. It is not only powerful, but it is unpredictable, it's hard to truly shut down, and is tremendously fun to engage with. Teratic Cohort are not the toppest of tiers, but they don't have to be worth your time. They operate in this unique space, and that's a space I love to revisit over and over again. If you are playing Teratic Cohort, I hope this video helps you to absorb some of the more nuanced plays within their design, within their traits, within their quads and their abilities. If you aren't playing them right now, let me know if this has opened your eyes to the potential of Teratic Cohort, and by extension opened your wallet to a potential future purchase. In any case, let me know in the comments down below, and whilst you are down there, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and until next time, lads, ladies, and everybody in between and beyond, ta-ra. Hey all, Toast here, and welcome to the post-toast credits. A massive shout out to all of my patrons and members, but an extra special shout out to all my algorithmic demon slayers: ABUNDCD, Andy Morris, blah blah blah, Brioche, Head Knight of Paint, Heinz D, Lord Phylax, Maps, Paulo Fernando Conclavis Perez for Hero, Sable Saber, Steve Bean, Houston Toad, and Velas. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, and I'll catch you all next time.